This video features Roland Schoeman and the type of freestyle that has helped him win 3 Olympic medals. Roland has equaled or broken 7 world records and is the current world record holder in the 50 and 100 meter freestyle short course and in the 50 meter butterfly long course. Roland is one of the most talented sprinters in history. When we watch him at full speed, it's hard to see the technical elements that make him so fast. But in this video, we'll slow things down so that you can see how Roland catches and pulls, how he kicks, how he breathes, and how he aligns his body for maximum power. We'll point out 6 specific things that Roland does that you can try in your own swimming. When you add these focus points to your swimming, it's best not to think about all of them at the same time. Try to focus on one specific thing each day. And when you work on these techniques, it should always be in addition to what your coach is asking you to do, not in place of. All great swimmers will tell you, don't be afraid to try something new. Keep searching until you find the style and technique that's right for you. Now let's see what world record holder Roland Schoeman does that you can do in your own swimming. Roland's nickname is the Rocket, and it's easy to see why. His body drills through the water as if it were a missile with one mission, to get to the other end. Roland knows that the key to fast freestyle, especially sprint freestyle, is to swim in perfect alignment straight down the pool. Body position is something that Roland works on every day because he knows that the faster you swim, the harder the water pushes back. The best way to fight the extra resistance is to shape your body like a needle, and then turn it into a rocket with a powerful kick and efficient pull. In the next few clips, try not to watch Roland's kick and pull. Focus on his body as a whole, how it's shaped and how it's aligned in the water. In this clip, notice that Roland is in perfect alignment, or perfect balance, in a horizontal plane. If we freeze him right here, you can draw a straight line from his fingertips, all the way down his arm, torso, and legs, all the way to his toes. Roland's hands, head, hips, and feet are connected in one straight line, and he maintains this long clean line through every part of his stroke cycle. This allows him to slip through the water with almost no resistance. With the hips high and the legs directly in line with the body, Roland presents very little frontal resistance to the water. This body shape allows him to get maximum power from his kick and from his pull. In this clip, notice how Roland is in perfect alignment side to side around the vertical axis. If we freeze him right here, his body looks like the tip of a needle. And as he swims toward you, it's as if he were strung on a wire, or as if his body were rotating on a spit. In this clip, ignore the rotation and focus on the surface area that Roland presents to the water. All you can see are his head, shoulder, and hand. There is no side-to-side movement in his head or hips. Everything is aligned as he's drilling straight to the other end. It is this precise, perfect alignment that is the hallmark of Roland's stroke and the key ingredient of his world-class speed. Let's watch a few more lengths from different angles. Get an image in your head of Roland's body position and alignment, and how he moves like a needle through the water, and see if you can add this to your own stroke when you practice. Let's face it, if you want to go under 22 seconds for a 50 meters long course freestyle, you need to focus on your kick. Roland has an incredibly powerful kick, a thunder kick, and he uses it to power every aspect of his stroke. In Roland's words, he builds his stroke from the back, from the kick. Let's watch it once more at speed. Then slow it way down to look at the fine points of the kick and how Roland uses it to drive the rest of his stroke. Roland uses a 6-beat kick, which means he completes 6 downbeats on every stroke cycle. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 downbeats for every stroke cycle. We'll speed it up just a bit to see the rhythm and flow, and to notice how steady the beats are, even when he turns for a breath. Roland throws in a slightly bigger down kick as his right hand enters and extends, but he still maintains steady rhythm with the kick. There are no pauses or stops. In these next few clips, notice how the kick is connected to the hips. Notice how Roland uses the kick to drive the rotation. If we slow that down and freeze frame it right here, we get a snapshot of Roland as he prepares for the most powerful part of his stroke. His left hand is anchored out front. His right hand is poised to enter the water. His left hip is rotated to its deepest point, and his feet are at their widest separation, which means he's getting ready for the most powerful downbeat of his 6 kicks. Roland uses the down kick to drive the hand to full extension and to drive his rotation. By the next freeze frame, his right hip and right foot are down. The right arm is extended and the pole is complete. As Roland continues in slow motion, focus only on the connection between the kick, the hips, and the hand. Watch how the down kick drives or snaps the hips into rotation and drives the hand into full extension. And notice that the kick never pauses or stops. Roland uses a steady, consistent kick to power a steady, consistent rotation. In the next few clips, let's look at the amplitude or width of Roland's kick. As you can see, he makes quite a bit of whitewater on the surface. If we slow it down, we can see that on nearly every kick, the top of Roland's foot clears the water. This gives him more foot speed than if the kick remained below the surface. On each kick, he's catching a bit of air and dragging it down. This allows his feet to travel quicker through the water. From underwater, you can see that Roland has a rather large kick, but notice that it is consistent and steady and fast. Roland kicks from his thigh, but he also bends his knee to add a snapping action to his kick. If we slow it down, you can see that he works the up kick just as much as the down kick. here are some different angles. Watch how the kick helps initiate the rotation, how it remains steady and consistent through the stroke cycle, and how it starts at the hips but finishes with the snap of the knees and toes. And of course, when you try this on your own, don't forget to point your toes. One of the signatures of Roland's stroke is that he separates his thumb from the rest of his hand during the catch and pull. He's found that this gives him a bit more surface area, but this hand position might not be right for every swimmer. Even if you don't try Roland's thumb position, what you do want to imitate is the way he catches and holds water during his pull. Roland is a master at grabbing as much water as he can and hanging onto it for a long, powerful pull. Roland's hand entry is precise, and the angle of attack is low. The fingertips enter first, and then the hand remains high as it extends forward. In this front view, we can see how the fingertips enter first, and that the hands enter the water directly in front of the shoulders. Everything is in line, and nothing crosses the midline of the body. Notice that Roland's hand is ready to grab water the instant it enters. By the time the arm is fully extended, all the bubbles have fallen off the hand and the catch happens seamlessly. By keeping the catch high and letting the hand extend into new water, water that has no bubbles, Roland finds a more solid surface to anchor his hand, and his pull takes less effort. In this clip, notice how Roland catches water not just with his hand, but also with his wrist and forearm. It's the high elbow that allows him to get this tremendous amount of surface area. The high elbow turns Roland's forearm into a huge paddle that he uses to pull himself forward. Here's another view of Roland's high elbows. But notice something else. The straight line that's formed from the elbow along the forearm, through the wrist, and all the way to the fingertips. Throughout the pull, this giant paddle never bends. The elbow never drops. The wrist never collapses or wobbles. The palm, wrist, and forearm never let go of the water. By creating a long straight surface area to hang onto the water, Roland is able to involve more of his body in the pull. Notice how he anchors with the hand and forearm, then engages the muscles all along his side and back to help pull his body forward. Because he never lets go of the water, Roland is able to get great rotation and exceptional hand acceleration through the pull. Watch how his hands catch and hold, and then speed through the pull. Let's watch all of this from underwater. First, look at the low angle of attack and how the hand extends forward into still water. Then look for the high elbow as Roland grabs an entire armful of water, from fingertip to elbow, and never lets go. One of the clearest, strongest visual images that we can take from Roland's stroke is this. On every stroke, for a brief instant, Roland extends front to back with his hands. Here it is again on the other side. Roland's hands are fully extended front to back. In this above water clip, focus just on Roland's arms. Notice how the lead arm remains fully extended until the exact moment when the trailing arm exits the water. From underwater, you can see how this front-to-back extension contributes to Roland's world-class speed. First, let's look at how it affects Roland's balance, or body line. When the hands are extended front to back, notice the needle-like shape of Roland's body. On every stroke, Roland's front-to-back hand extension gives him a sleek, streamlined, and horizontal body position. There's no resistance. For the brief moment that his hands are extended and his body is long, Roland travels forward with almost no drag, carrying all the speed generated from his kick and pull. Even during his breath, Roland maintains full extension front to back. Roland waits until the rear hand exits the water to initiate the catch with his lead hand and to begin the pull. By keeping the lead arm fully extended and relatively high in the water, Roland gets a better setup position for his pull. The extended hand encourages a high elbow at the catch and throughout the rest of the pull. On the next clip, watch how Roland's hand accelerates through the pull. This acceleration is encouraged by the fact that the lead hand remains stable and out front until the rear hand finishes the pull. If the lead hand must wait to pull until the other hand finishes the pull, the pulling hand will accelerate naturally. Finally, extending front to back on every stroke encourages a low breath, which is the topic of our next focal point. In these final clips, focus on Roland's hands and how they extend front to back on every stroke. This is a key element of Roland's stroke, and it is the easiest element that you can add to your own stroke. Take these images to the pool when you practice. If you want to excel at sprint freestyle, you have to move directly forward with no wasted motion. If you deviate even slightly from traveling a straight line, either side to side or up and down, you lose valuable time. To minimize side to side motion, Roland extends front to back on each stroke. What does he do to minimize up and down motion? Look for his mouth during the breath. It's hard to see, but the breath is here. And notice where the hands are. Roland starts his breath at the exact moment his hands are extended front to back. By the time Roland's hand is near his shoulder, the breath is done, and the face is back in the water. Let's watch it again from another angle. The breath starts here, and the breath is connected to the hands. From underwater, you can see that the breath does nothing to upset Roland's horizontal balance. Even when Roland breathes, you could run a straight line from his fingertips to his toes. Notice that Roland never lifts his head to breathe. When it's time for a breath, he keeps his lead arm extended. He gives a little turn with his body and head, gets his air, and then returns his face to the water. The breath is very relaxed and very, very low. When Roland is traveling at speed, his head and shoulder create a trough, and he finds his air inside the trough, right at the surface of the water. If you're not traveling as fast as Roland, the trough won't be quite so big. If this is the case, you may need to look back slightly to get your air. Another way to stay low during the breath is to curl your mouth to the side. In other words, make a Popeye mouth when you breathe. As you can see, part of Roland's mouth is still visible underwater during the breath, which means he's curled the other part of his mouth up to air. Another way to stay low during the breath is to think about keeping one goggle in the water at all times. Watch how Roland's lower goggle is barely visible during the breath. If we freeze it here, you can see that Roland leads into the breath with the top of his head. He's looking directly to the side or slightly back, and nearly half of his head is still in the water. All you can see is one goggle and the corner of his mouth. And here you can see that even though Roland looks slightly forward when he swims, he does not lift up before the breath, or look forward during the breath. Roland stays low when he goes to breath because a low breath keeps him traveling on the straightest line possible to the other end. Every aspect of Roland's stroke is designed to send him forward in a direct line. His arm recovery is no exception. Roland uses a high elbow recovery that keeps his hands and arms close to the body as they move forward. The hand is relaxed and low and travels directly forward rather than swinging out and around or up and over. As we slow things down for a closer look, notice that the first thing out of the water is the elbow. Roland lifts with the elbow and keeps the elbow higher than the hand, all the way through the recovery. Here's another angle where you can see that Roland finishes his pull here, with his hands extended front to back. But then in the next frame, it's the elbow that lifts and not the hand. The pulling hand finishes in full extension, but then relaxes as the elbow takes over. In this clip, notice that when Roland lifts with the elbow, he also lifts and throws with the shoulder. You can see that the shoulder is almost entirely clear of the water. From underwater, you can see that when one shoulder lifts and clears the water, it enhances the overall rotation of the torso and hips. Notice that the top shoulder has disappeared and that the bottom hip is angled down. As Roland swims directly toward the camera, notice how small a surface area he presents to the water. By lifting with the shoulder, he presents only one shoulder and his head to the water. This reduces his frontal resistance and makes him more needle-like, or rocket-like in the water. In these next clips, focus on Roland's arms and shoulders. Look for the elbow to lead the recovery and notice how much of the shoulder clears the water on each stroke. It's almost as if Roland throws each shoulder forward, engaging the large muscles in his back to power the stroke. This kind of shoulder throw is hard to maintain for more than a sprint, but it's one of the hallmarks of Roland's stroke and one of the keys to his success. If you add this to your stroke, do it gradually to prevent shoulder injury. It's best to focus first on lifting the elbow to initiate the recovery. This will give you a clean line, a relaxed recovery, and natural rotation. For the final section of the video, Roland will just swim, and you can watch how all the parts come together to create speed. Try to pick out the things we focused on. Does he swim in perfect alignment? Does he have a steady kick that drives his rotation? Does the kick help to drive his lead hand into full extension? Does he get extended front to back on every stroke? Can you see his breath, or is it low and hidden? How well does he grab the water with his hand and forearm? And is he lifting with the elbow and shoulder to start the recovery? See if the key elements are there, no matter how slow or how fast Roland swims. As you add these focus points to your own swimming, remember to work on just one thing at a time. Start slowly, don't be afraid to experiment, and be patient when you try to change things with your stroke. As Roland will tell you, never give up. Believe in the impossible. This is the beginning. Now it's up to you to add focus to your training.
Actually, when I was 6 years old, I swam for a couple of months and decided that that really wasn't for me. I just couldn't imagine staring at a black line every single day for the rest of my life. And actually, I only got back into swimming at the age of about 15 and started competing again competitively. right? You know, I actually didn't start competing again until I was about 16, so, you know, literally a break of 10 years from swimming, so I wasn't an early starter. I actually got into swimming to impress a girl. She was on the club team, and I thought, hey, well, you know, she's kind of cute, and maybe if I join the swim team, I'll show her that I'm interested. And we ended up dating for a couple of months, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. You know, I think it's a combination of two: the going 21:69 in the 50 freestyle, and then being the first man to break 23 seconds in the 50-meter butterfly. I think when Alexander Popov went 21:6, everybody looked at that and said, you know, this is unbelievable. It's not real. It's fake. And you know, I came in and proved that it can be done. Rick DeMont, without a doubt. You know, this guy is somebody that doesn't get too scientific. He doesn't overanalyze it. It's never too technical. It's just about feeling more than anything else. He really, you know, brings his artistic works into swimming, and that's fantastic. I can relate to it. I'm really not a technical person at all. And, you know, it's reassuring. It's comforting having a coach there on the side that, you know, that knows what you're thinking. Has been with you for ages and ages. And, you know, can really understand and connect with you on an intimate level. I think a lot of things. I think it's you know, will, determination, the drive to succeed, you know, just a general belief in yourself and your abilities. If you don't believe that you can achieve something, you never will. No, practice isn't always fun. I wish it was. It's, you know, I've had practices where I just don't want to be there, and then, you know, just kind of shift that mental focus and look at it a slightly different way. Like, you know, this is the best swimmers in the world are out competing or practicing today, and you know, if you want to be the best in the world, you have to do it. And you know, you kind of shut your mind off and focus on specifics, whether it be stroke technique or, you know, a specific strategy. And by the end of you know, by the end of the workout, it's just like, wow, you know, that ended a lot quicker than I thought it was going to end. Practice is always fun when it's over. There's nothing better than going home and, you know, falling down on the sofa or lying in bed thinking, oh, thank you, God, thank you, it's over. Ouch, ouch. I think a tip that I have is something that I've learned. It's, you know, when I started swimming, I identified aspects of my stroke or my start specifically, and I bought videotapes from the United States. I mean, at that point in South Africa, we didn't have the luxury of having videotapes there at our beck and call, so I bought about 5 or 6 DVDs or, you know, beta tapes back then, and you know, I'd watch it over and over and over, and I'd videotape myself over and over, and just kind of see what I needed to do to be better. And you know, it was that, you know, that drive, that determination, that will to succeed that kind of got me through it. And you know, you're going to have ups and downs, and it's a matter of, you know, when you aren't succeeding and when you're swimming slowly, it's a matter of you know, identifying something that you need to work on and correcting that. And you know, like I said, you're going to have waves. You're going to be fast, sometimes slow. I think one of the great things about being out here in Arizona is we do train all 4 strokes. If if you're just training freestyle, it tends to become you know, really monotonous. You tend to break down a lot quicker. So you know, it really is a luxury that we're afforded here, where the coaches like to focus on every single aspect, whether it be breaststroke, backstroke. We do a lot of weak stroke work where we, you know, my weak stroke is actually backstroke. I'm a pretty good breaststroker if I need to be, but you know, it's great. It just keeps things fresh. It keeps things enjoyable and energetic to train a different stroke and to train for the IM. You know, when I am training, it's fine to have an idea of 5, 6, 7 different things that you want to specifically focus on. I know that, you know, I want to think about my catch. I want to think about, you know, extension through the back. I want to think about my kick, my hip rotation. But, you know, at the end of the day, you can really only focus on one specific thing. And whether you specifically concentrate on your catch for 125 and, you know, then you work on your kick for another 25, you really have to break down your workouts into specifics. And you know, if you try and think about too much, you're really not going to accomplish anything. If I get into the swimming pool and focus on specifics, if I focus on my breath, if I focus on my catch, like I've said, you know, if there's one thing that I can focus on and really try and ingrain in muscle memory, it just makes workout go by, or seem to go by, so much quicker. You know, part of the warm-up we do is around about an hour before the event starts, we'll get in and swim for about half an hour, and literally 20 minutes before my race, I'm really not focusing on very much. That's kind of my downtime before I race. You know, whether I'm sitting with legs up or doing a light stretch or you know, just smacking my muscles. It's just those last 20 minutes, I really am just in the zone. I'm really focused, and I know what the task is at hand, and you know, I'm just going to go out there and let all cylinders fire. You know, when I started swimming, I used to study the guys like Popov and Van Hogenband, but the only person that I study at this point is myself. You know, I think the sky's the limit, or the pool's the limit, if you wish. I think, you know, for so long, we've had so many guys just saying that 21.6 is about the limit, or 47.8 is the limit, and I feel that's just, you know, that's ridiculous. When Mark Spitz won his 200 freestyle at the Olympics, he won it in a 152.7, and now Michael Phelps is going 152.0 in the 200 fly. You know, so these are limits that nobody ever believed was possible. And you know, frankly, in the 100-meter freestyle and the 50-meter freestyle, in any single race, the only barrier that we have is the mental barrier that we put on ourselves. And you know, that's why I swim my 50 freestyle the way I do. That's why I swim my 100 freestyle taking it out in 22.4, because that is the future. But, you know, my goal is to take it out in 22.4 and bring it back in 25.0. Thank God I got that one right. Actually, not very much. When I'm behind the blocks, one of the thoughts that goes through my head is my strength is in the Lord. You know, it's just a way of reaffirming reaffirming my faith, reaffirming the training that I've gone through to get me to that point. So, you know, when I'm standing behind the block, I'm just really in the zone. I'm just focused on what I need to do. So it's, you know, I think a lot of times people tend to overthink that situation. They get behind the blocks and they're like, okay, well, are my goggles okay? Is my cap okay? How about my suit? So, you know, just let it happen. I used to be one of those guys that would, after workout, have four McDonald's cheeseburgers, and, you know, a chocolate shake and fries and an apple pie. And, you know, I needed to keep this figure slightly more trim than it was getting. But you know, a perfect day of eating for me is waking up in the morning, having a low glycemic index breakfast. You know, from there, after workout, I'll have a protein shake. Before the next workout, I'll have, you know, a really nice big sandwich. Tend to try and do the organics, whether it be organic beef or ham or whatever it is. You know, just really try to have a big lunch, because, you know, I've come to find that if I don't eat anything before workouts, I just feel absolutely dead tired. I just, you know, almost feel like I can't get my body out of the water. And I think that's something that a lot of people underestimate, is, you know, having a meal before workouts. If you're having a meal before your workouts, you know, it's going to allow you just to perform at a far higher level. You know, for dinner, I just like having a really big steak, having some potatoes, salads, greens. You know, I've really come to learn how to cook for myself. I wish I had my own personal chef, but not going to happen anytime soon, so I can cook up a mean recipe.